on to
No,
what?
I'm good.
What you two doing there? Plotting? Hey, Jason, can I offer you something? Possibly a peppermint? Dude, my friend Chuck and I used to run around doing that to people. Like, would you like a peppermint? It's great if you fucking seen the
um,
movie and get the joke, but
yeah, I mean, this, uh, I don't know how to describe this movie. This movie
let,
was
let,
all
let
over
me.
the place.
Okay, you saw it when it came out, right? That's what. Oh, well, we're talking about higher learning, and I'll read the demographic stuff
Yes,
in a second. I saw this when it came out and watched it a zillion times. I quote this movie constantly. You just heard me do the peppermint thing. What are you doing there plotting? I almost introduced you tonight as he just wants to be an engineer. Um, my,
I figure with the Remy thing, you would
I,
have said, "Have you ever
I was,
shot anybody, Remy?"
I was too busy doing my own thing. I remember watching this with my dad, and at the end, where they let Remy go, but they're beating the fuck out of Omar Epps. The security guards are, and my father's like, "This is too ridiculous even for me. No, I'm out." It's like he could not handle how heavy-handed and like 110% leaning into systemic racism this movie was. Like it made my autistic father be like, "No, it's not that bad. Jesus Christ, this is
There's
ridiculous."
leaning in. There's leaning in. Then there's the Michael Jackson leaning in, and we
It's
went with the
leaning
latter.
into the point of satire, um, and parody. Higher learning is fucking hilarious, and that's the thing. It's not a bad movie. It's just overtly blunt to the point that it becomes comedic.
And there's a big issue that I'm gonna talk about on this because it deals with a very sensitive topic. So if you got sensitive ears, fuck off till we talk about Baby Boy because I'm gonna go balls deep when we get into
All
a
right, so
certain theme of higher learning.
we want to let Jason go balls deep, so let's talk about what this movie is. Higher Learning is a 1995 American crime drama. So 1995, I am in college. I think I'm in my second year of college. Um, Written and directed by John Singleton, starring an ensemble cast. It follows the changing lives of three incoming freshmen at the fictional Columbus University. Malik Williams, who's played by Omar Epps, a track star who struggles with academics. Kristen Connor, who's played by Kristy Swanson, a shy and naive girl, and Remy, Michael Rapaport, a lonely and confused man seemingly out of place in his new environment. The film also featured Tyra Banks' first performance, and what a performance! In a theatrical film, Lawrence Fishburne won the NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Motion Picture, offering people peppermints. Ice, Ice Cube was also nominated for the award. This was the last film appearance of Diedrich D. Gobert, who was shot dead in 1994 prior to the film's release. The exterior shots and outdoor scenes were shot on the campus of the University of California at UCLA, while the interior shots were Sony Picture Studios. Had a budget of, I have no idea, it's not printed, but if the box office was 38.3. It ranked 44 yearly domestic gross and 17 amongst R-rated films in 1995. For their performances, as we talked about, Lawrence Fishburne and Ice Cube, the film received mixed reviews, as I'm sure it might. It holds a 46% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And the character Malik, played by Omar Epps, appears in Don't Be a Menace to South Central with Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, which we reviewed on here. A comedy movie that parodied some popular black movies of the 90s. A year later, after the graduation of a friend, Malik had returned to the university where he was shot and killed by a new skinhead member. I vaguely remember that. All right, so the plot of Higher Learning is there is no plot. However, you are seeing the first semester of college, and we are introduced to Omar Epps, who is a track star, and he's hanging out with Ice Cube, who is a super senior, and Busta Rhymes, who is his cohorts.
Hype man.
I was his what what is it? Your sidekick. Busta Rhymes is his sidekick. We introduced to Michael Rapaport, who at first is nonplussed dealing with the black kids that are around him and how loud they are, and out of an inability to bond with people. He finds the local skinheads, and he is utterly corrupted and empowered, and takes all the wrong messages and does all the bad things. Kristy Swanson is a girl in the world, and she parties with her white friends, and this leads to her being sexually assaulted. And then because of the sexual assault, she ends up taking up with a group of activist women, one of which is Jennifer Connelly, who's kind of a lesbian. So there's that.
Yeah, that's where we're going to go balls deep.
So here's the thing. There's no plot to this movie. This happens. This happens. There's a lot of conversations about race, systemic racism, the college system in and of itself, gender differences, sexual assault. My ex-wife's favorite phrase: regret is not rape. That sort of thing. There's a lot of sort of pro-black, sort of separatist conversations. Then there's just a lot of goofy kids being shitty to each other. It culminates with Michael Rapaport shooting into a crowd during a peace festival, and he kills Tyra Banks, who is kind of sort of dating Omar Epps, and he shoots somebody else. I don't remember who. And then eventually, having been cornered by the security and overwhelmed with the guilt of what he had just done, he shot himself in the head, which seems to have pleased the lead Nazi. Omar Epps drops out of school, and Kristy Swanson is blonde and white. That's the whole movie. And
yeah, pretty much.
There's no way to describe this that sells the movie. What sells the movie is Jason and I acting it out and just reciting the dialogue. And like I said, I showed it to my kids. My daughter didn't have much of a reaction to it. She was kind of like, okay, I'm entertained by this, but I don't really know what to say about it. My son, who is only going to be 11 years old in April and has not had the college experiences, was like, this can't possibly be true. What, you go to school, have a hard time, become a Nazi? Is that how this works? Is that what's in store for me? And he was just like, that's why we kept making jokes like, this is way heavy-handed. This is John Singleton. His aesthetic, his like motif for this movie assumes none of us have ever gone to college, and really needed to like dumb it down so people would understand what the college experience was like. As if in 1995, half of the United States hadn't already been to college.
Yeah, and I think that the writing style of Singleton, I think him and Spike Lee might have had a bet going on who could be the blackest director
and most obvious and most heavy-handed.
Yeah, I think because you go from Do the Right Thing, when we reviewed it, you see a lot of the same undertones of racism and stuff and Do the Right Thing that you see here. Yeah. But Singleton takes it to a whole new level with the skinheads, the neo-Nazis.
He is like the equivalent. He is the director equivalent of the guy with pictures of his kids smacking you in the face with the pictures.
Yeah, but also where Singleton did succeed is, how college, some students on colleges are targeted for certain organizations. You find the outcasts that don't seem to have anybody. That's where you're going to get, your easy, basically quote unquote easy prey. Mm-hmm. We see that with Remy, and we see that with what's her character's name, Kristen. We see that, but also with Malik, you see him trying to Malik and Fudge, Ice Cube and Omar Epps. You see them trying to be these well-rounded characters that only want to seek knowledge, and they gotta live up.
Can we say right now, Ice Cube's a fucking bully? I'm not defending in any way, shape, or form Remy taking to neo-Nazism, but let's not. John Singleton frames Ice Cube as something of a righteous figure. He's just a bully.
There's no difference between him and the neo-Nazi.
Yeah, I don't really have a major argument. I mean, I think there's some nuance here that's missing in that argument, but I'm not going to fight you on it. But Ice Cube absolutely weighs on heavy the weaker white kids, and he kind of also bullies some of the black kids around him. But in like there's a scene with Omar Epps where he's like, can I borrow this book? He was, and Ice Cube's like, oh, you're showing an interest in a historical figure. This is fantastic. I'm very happy about this. And Omar Epps is like, yeah, I need it for a paper. And suddenly Ice Cube's like, yeah, no, then you can't have the book. Either
Yeah,
have
it's for
intellectual,
Frederick Douglass.
yeah, either have intellectual curiosity or fuck off. And I don't think it's too strong a word to say that's bullying.
Yeah, well, the reason why I say that him and the neo-Nazi leader is very similar
Mm-hmm.
is because they're both preying on people that they see inferior to them,
Yeah.
and they're wanting to exploit those people to further their cause. Fudge is exploiting Malik because he's a star athlete that can influence people. The head Nazi guy's exploiting Remy because he's very subjective. He doesn't find a place to belong. He's an outcast, and he can be manipulated easily.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of it's like two puppet masters using pawns to carry out a vendetta against each other. And like you were saying before, you have these segregated groups on campus. And
Yeah, that is a real line of dialogue. Over here is Disneyland, and he points to a group of white kids. He points to the Asian kids and goes, that's Chinatown. Which my kids and I fucking laughed hard, to the point where I almost had to stop the movie because we were laughing so hard at that, as if there's only one kind of Asian. And then he points
yeah,
to the Hispanic group, same thing. And that's south of the border, as if the only place on earth that has Hispanics is Mexico. And then in the best line of this whole thing, because he's just like, well, clearly he has something nice to say about black people. Nope, this is the black hole. Because in case you missed the subtlety of that line, because we black folk. Thank you.
yeah. I
Ice
mean,
Cube. I would not have gotten that without you saying it.
yeah, we would have not noticed
Yeah.
that.
This here's the black hole. Because we scientists. The fuck? No, we get it, Ice Cube.
Because we're engineers.
Yeah.
He wants to be an engineer.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Lawrence Fishburne's written as this. I can't determine where they wanted his accent to be from.
He does such a weird accent. Like, what fucking planet was Lawrence Fishburne from?
Yeah, it's like he wants to be a soulful reggae instructor. It's like a Southern Baptist reggae preacher, and it's kind of hard. But they write him as this like really sophisticated, well educated, and it's like, why can't he just be like a normal professor? Why does he got to be like so over the top and offer peppermints?
Peppermint. And it's never like, would you like a peppermint? No, he has to like he's offering you this exotic fruit. Peppermint. Eh? Eh?
Yeah, it's the golden. It's like Willy Wonka's golden ticket.
just Lawrence Fishburne just prancing around the university throwing peppermints at people.
Oh, that would be great. Just like have like a little picnic basket full of peppermints, just tossing them out and just going peppermint,
peppermint, peppermint, peppermint. So good. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck accent he was doing.
But this movie's really good. Because like I said, another movie ahead of its time. Dealt with a lot of things because again, the Rodney King thing is still predominant. We got a lot of racial tension in there, and you see it a lot on the college campuses. You still see it to this day, and throughout the years, you still see racial tensions on college campuses where everybody is like, because as a freshman in college, you're trying to find yourself.
Right.
A lot of times it's the first time that kids are out from underneath their parents' rule and they're going crazy and they don't really know how to act because
Yeah.
kids are dumb fucks.
You see that with you don't see it so much with the black kids partying, and then they really don't show you anything with the Asians or the Hispanics. So it's really the two cultures in contrast are the white kids and the black kids. And if you really squint hard enough, you can kind of see the beginnings of an examination of gay culture on campus. Kind of, sort of, in the 1995 way. Like, John Singleton is very much preoccupied with systemic racism. And why shouldn't he be? As a proud black, successful man, he's going to give. He's going to give attention to something that I'm sure he's dealt with, as many of his actors that he's worked with have as well. So I don't have a major problem with that. He's less interested, it seems, in dealing with gay stuff, but he can't pretend it doesn't exist on campus. And it's an interesting thing, and I don't know how I feel about it, that he presents an inextricable link between gay culture and sexual violence.
Okay.
And I know there is one to some extent in many cases, but I don't know if I would paint it with such a wide brush to where it feels like it's always that way. It isn't. That's a reductionist view of both.
All right, so let's get serious for a moment, Mark, because this is going to be Jason goes goes down a rabbit hole. Um, First and foremost, sexual assault, sexual violence is wrong and everything. But the way it's portrayed in this movie is she's all up for it till he does not want to wear a condom. Then there's a problem. Then she starts saying no, no, she's all for it. And yes, he does force himself on her.
You're not going to defend that scene, are you?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
No, no.
I don't care how many
But
times you say yes. Once you say no, the game's over.
right, right.
Okay.
But it's like I have an issue that the sexual assault and everything is exploited for Jennifer Connelly to start a relationship with her. And she preys on her vulnerability from the sexual assault to push her into a relationship.
Are you making the argument that that's how John Singleton is painting it, or is that just your interpretation?
No, that's exactly what happens because from the sexual assault, Jennifer Connelly sees this vulnerable girl
Hang on, I just want to
who
make sure I understand because you really didn't answer my question. Permission to treat the witness as hostile, Your Honor. No, just kidding. There's two ways to look at this. There's Jason Teasley saw this, and this is your interpretation, which I'm fine with. You can interpret it any way you want. That's why we do these comedy. Or you're kind of getting in the mind of John Singleton and saying he's painting Jennifer Connelly. This isn't an interpretation. John Singleton paints Jennifer Connelly's character as predatory, as somebody who, once we have this injured lamb, now she's ripe for the lesbian pickings. Is that what you're saying John Singleton was doing purposely?
I don't think he did it purposely, but that's how it was portrayed. I think that there was a
Okay,
lot
so
of
it's your
maybe.
interpretation then. You're not.
I think that. Well, hold on. I think
Okay.
there was a lot of scenes. There might have been scenes cut, and the editing kind of framed it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, if you do the Jennifer Connelly as a predatory thing, it fits everything because you have the neo-Nazi preying on Remy,
Mm-hmm.
you would have Jennifer Connelly preying on Kristen, and Fudge basically preying on Malik. So
Mm-hmm.
you could frame it that way. I don't think it was an intentional thing, and I think it might have been an editing issue. But that's the way it really comes off. Is Jennifer Connelly sees this girl who has a traumatic experience, is off on her own and everything, and she exploits that vulnerability.
Intent is important if you're going to make that claim. If you're saying the subtext of Jennifer Connelly's character is she's looking for women who are damaged to either turn them or take advantage of them in a sexual preference sense, okay, I don't see a lot of evidence of that in the movie though. That seems
Well,
like projection.
let's present evidence then.
Okay.
When 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 they are first introduced, she is walking across campus. Kristen's walking across campus alone. Jennifer Connelly just magically shows up out of nowhere and is going on about the phones, uh, and she's talking about sexual abuse and everything, and basically laying the seeds. Then after the sexual abuse happens, the first person Kristen turns to is Jennifer Connelly. She goes to the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and from there you see Jennifer Connelly kind of, and I want to use this as a term nowadays that you hear thrown around quite loosely. You see her kind of grooming Kristen
Okay.
until up till the point where they run into Kristen's roommate, and she is made. She's ashamed to be holding hands with Jennifer Connelly, but Jennifer Connelly kind of the body language and stuff kind of gives off this, which we've all been there. You're ashamed to be with me, and
Yeah.
you're ashamed of how you feel about me. It's okay if as long as we're behind closed doors, but out in public, you're ashamed of me.
Right.
And and you have that
You're gay in
you
the
have
sheets,
that
but not in
under
the streets.
right. $20 is $20. Um, but you see that subtext. You see, I don't know. Like I said, it might have been an editing issue. There might have been more context to it that got cut. But I feel that that is something that could be looked at as a predatory relationship.
Okay. I don't have a strong enough counter argument to fight you, so I concede. For the sake of time, I want to move the. Unless you have anything more to say about that, we're gonna move on.
Let's move on to Ambien. I mean, Baby Boy.
No, no, no. I don't want to move on to Baby Boy. I want to talk about Malik for
Uh,
a moment. The last thing
okay.
I'm going to say, um, well, because we really need to talk about Malik and Remy, because we kind of danced around it. But one, I think John Singleton wants you to be sympathetic for Malik. I think he wants you to see his point of view. Um, he's I mean, when your other character turns to Nazism and shooting people, it's there's
That's a leap.
what other way was I to interpret this movie as Michael Rapaport's in the wrong, Omar Epps is in the right, except that that's the problem. That's the major problem I have with this movie because I love its silliness, I love its over the topness, I love its directness, I love its bluntness. However, it's not perfect, and there's some major problems with this movie. Not the least of which is up to the point that Remy becomes a Nazi and is threatening to kill people and then does it. I'm not sympathetic with Omar Epps' point of view. He is gifted in athletics. He's a track star, so he's allowed to go to college for free or in part for free, and he's expected to keep up his grades, perform for the school, and for that he gets a couple of $100,000 in education that he can do they can better his life with, and he's bratty about it, and he's entitled, and he spends half of the movie complaining.
He feels like the world owes him some.
Yeah, I'm supposed to take this as our sympathetic point of view character. I don't wish death on people, and I'm really trying to be a better person these days. But and I certainly was not cheering for Remy to shoot him and hit poor Tyra Banks instead. But like, take the gun out of Remy's hands and remove the Nazi context, and he's just like an angry white kid who's tired of the black kid's bullshit. I'm cheering for Remy.
A little bit. I really wanted to find out that Michael Rapaport was in Baby Boy, because if so, we could have just said this was a Michael Rapaport uh,
Triple feature.
triple feature. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Because Malik is kind of
An asshole.
one. You're supposed to feel sympathetic. You're supposed to want. You're supposed to connect with him, and there's nothing there. There's no redeeming qualities.
Think of it this way. everything is handed to Malik for one reason or another, and he does nothing but cry and complain to the point where the Tyra Banks character is also like, "Will you please shut the fuck up? Stop crying." Um, Michael Rapaport doesn't do anything wrong. Michael Rapaport complains about the party because
Well,
well, to a point. That's what. Hang on, I'm going somewhere with this.
you know,
That's why, like, don't like cut me off because, sorry, because obviously
checking
him
your bets.
joining. Yeah, I just lost one. The Lakers and the Hornets did not go over the Nets rather. Cavaliers and the Nets did not go over 225 points. So, yay betting.
Yeah.
But no, think about everything that happens up to that point. Michael Rapaport complains about the party because it's going late and he has school tomorrow. And Ice Cube's being a jerk about it. And then I think he has a few other like confrontations with Ice Cube, who's a dick to him and a bully. And then he gets
Yeah, he gets called a pussy. He's just standing there on the porch and Ice Cube calls him a pussy at the party.
right. And then the next thing that is like, there's a point where he's, I think, in class and he's frustrated and he's not doing well and he's kind of jealous that all the other students are getting it faster than he is. Which, okay, you're not doing anything wrong per se. Like, you're having a character moment, a negative character moment, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's doing anything wrong or being a bad person. And up until the point that he's sitting and he's reading on the steps when he's confronted by the one Nazi guy, at that point he hadn't done anything wrong. And he's kind of the victim through like half of this movie. And here's the point that I'm trying to make. In order for John Singleton to get the right reaction out of the audience, he has to push Michael Rapaport well past the point of absurdity. Like, that's the point that my 10-year-old son was making. Sorry. That's the point that my 10-year-old son was making. Jonas was like, okay, so he was having a rough go of it in school. He immediately goes to Nazism. Feels like we skipped a step. Or 10.
Yeah, he goes 0 to 60 in like 2.2 seconds. And like
that's
a
the
couple
point
of
that I'm
weeks
trying to make.
Yeah, a couple of weeks he goes from I feel out of place to I'm this enraged Nazi.
Yeah. So that's my one frustration with this movie is John Singleton so badly wants you to see Omar Epps' point of view. So instead of writing Omar Epps is in any way sympathetic, he has to make Michael Rapaport so awful that you have no choice, which instead makes you just feel like there's nobody to root for in this movie. Because then now let's go back to Kristy Swanson's character, where she's an idiot and kind of a tart and a little shallow, a little vapid, and she gets drunk at a party, and I'm not cheering for her to be assaulted. Once she said no, that's the ball game. And it's a hard scene to watch. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take this experience now, and I'm going to be an activist, and I'm going to help other women, and that's kind of all I'm going to be for the rest of this movie. And when there's, like, high racial tensions, she's like, what if a concert? What if a concert cures it all? Well, you know, like she's the girlfriend of fucking Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. And then it's like, oh no, the concert was disrupted by gunfire. It's all my fault. It's like, all right, my choices are the Nazi, the entitled black guy, or the idiot girl. Boo! There's no one to cheer for in this movie. I'm cheering for Tyra Banks. That's who I'm cheering for.
Yeah, I mean she does a great performance. I mean her and Lawrence Fishburne's the only characters that are actually middle of the road redeemable.
Yep.
And likable.
You know what the problem here, Jason, is? It's all about this
What?
Black Fist.
Let's go on. Let's go on to Ambien.
Busta Rhymes' finest work, let me tell you. That actually was a song. So my friends and I used to write like goofy as shit songs. Like a couple of my friends had recording equipment, and this is before ChatGPT. We would like hang out either if he was working at the gas station or at his house, and we would just write stupid as shit songs that he could record. This was well before Suno.ai, and one of the songs that we wrote was "It's All About This Black Fist," which I may have written in my Nation of Domination T-shirt.